All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RVing in New England. And it is Wednesday night. Hi, John.
So, Bob, what about the people that aren't watching it during the evening? And what about those people that aren't watching it on Wednesday night? Are we totally eliminating them?
No, we archived the show on Facebook. We posted out to YouTube. We have rejuvenated our Instagram account. We're doing a little bit more in the background of social media to spread the word on it. So we're getting the word out there.
So, you know what? Like you said, people can watch us or listen to us so many different ways. Facebook, like they're doing right now, or doing as a delayed broadcast, a repeat. YouTube on delay.
And you're right about the podcast.
We haven't really talked about the podcast enough because
right. Every week we take
a lot of people don't.
We take the audio from the show and convert it to a podcast, and it's on our NERVDA website. Go to nervda.com and look at the podcast, and all the shows are there too.
Right. And all the studies show now that people are finding that they may not have a full hour to watch the show, but outside of seeing my beautiful face, they do get the same information when they're driving in their cars down the highways of America.
I would agree. You do look much better on the radio.
Exactly. That's why I decided to do radio instead of TV.
So we got Scott Nichols. We got Jerry Plant.
Oh, Jerry's at the beach for the whole week. Wow.
Wow. And I assume you don't have too much company down there, right, Jerry? Should have booked last week, right? The weather forecast was better than last week.
Watch out, Jerry. That canal might overflow.
Yeah. Hi, Walter. You guys, let me know if you're hearing any background noise. I'm hearing some background. I'm not sure if it's Randy, but let's bring up our guest, who is sitting over here somewhere.
He's in the green room. He's imbibing on the multitude of snacks we provide.
I hope he's finished all the snacks. 3, 2, 1. And Randy from Pete's RV. So, Randy, are you hearing the background noise at all?
I am not, but I am really hard of hearing, Bob. So
no, I hear it now. It sounds like a duck.
Yeah, I'm gonna move my phone just in case.
Yeah,
that was picking up anything over there. So we got Randy. We got Scott Nichols from. What do I want to say? He's down your way in Plainfield. Rochville, I think. Jerry Plant from Major's RV. Walter Swenson from Mass Good Sam. Jerry Plant again. He's actually camping at Scussett Beach for the week. Jim Convoy from New England RV Roof. Mark Poster joined us. Good evening, Mark. So first I want to thank Randy because you may have seen we actually had a guest scheduled for tonight, and it wasn't Randy. But there was a scheduling conflict, and the young lady from Forest River couldn't make it. We're going to reschedule her, and Randy's always willing to come on the show, so we figured it was a good time to get his winter visit in a little bit early this year. So
it's got to be Randy. Randy, you got a phone on or anything that because there was no noise until we had brought you in, Randy. So you're going to be the first.
I was here before.
Okay, so we can't fire him as our first guest that been fired in the air.
Well, look who showed up. Audrey Foley Egan.
She hasn't been here in a few weeks.
Where has she been? She must have been out running around the country camping or something because she hasn't been here.
No, did you overlook Mark Polk on purpose?
No, I got Mark right after I said Jim Convoy's on.
Okay, something's wrong here. Something's wrong.
I don't know why.
I'm not hearing it.
You're not hearing it.
I'm hearing it. You guys hearing like a duck sound out there, audience? Write down yes, I hear it, or no, I don't hear it, because it's got to be coming from Bob because I don't do anything wrong.
Right.
Wrong.
I don't have anything close by it, though. All right. So, Randy, thank you very much again for joining us tonight. And I know you're actually on the road in your Plainville, Mass location. What have you been up to lately at Pete's?
So, 2020 has been quite a year, as most people know. It started out, just to go back a little bit, it started out during show season last year in March. where I had actually built the show for Mohegan Sun, and then the tribal elders came around the night before the show opened when I was done and told me that we got to have the stuff out tomorrow. So
you had already loaded in?
I was done.
Oh.
I had a couple marketing things left to do, and we were ready to open the show at noon the following day. And again, the tribal elders came around and shut it down. That's the first time I've ever broke down a show on a Friday. So we got that done. We came, we learned as much as we could about COVID. We protected our employees and their family members and our customers. And I spent the next 2 months of my life living in a service bay at the Vermont location in a camper, PDIing units with one of the owners and one of the former owners. So 3 of us worked 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, prepping campers.
And then when the green light came,
I headed to Pennsylvania. Pete's RV purchased a store in Pennsylvania, right outside of Lancaster. And I spent most of my summer there, and now I'm making my rounds. I'm currently working in Plainville, Massachusetts. So it's been a crazy year. It's been an incredible year. Lots of new people to the camping industry, which is awesome to see. And one of my duties when I was working in Pennsylvania was actually doing walkthroughs with customers. So I was right out in the trenches with them and, learning about the new product and teaching the customers. So that was a lot of fun for me. And I got to see a lot of neat things and meet a lot of nice people, and it kind of grounded me. So I was really excited to be able to do that.
Randy, let's talk. You brought up a good point. Audrey thinks it's me, but I don't have.
That's you, Bob. It's you. Huh? It's definitely you.
Let me. I don't know. No cables.
Is there a sheet of paper or anything on the keyboard?
No, nothing there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but let's. I'll tell you what. I will mute my mic here in a minute. I'll ask Randy the question. Go back to your comment about first time buyers, because that's a big problem in the industry, and one of the issues we want to talk tonight about. What are you telling these first time buyers about winterizing, and how are you getting the message across to them? And I'm going to mute my mic to see if it fills everything.
Are you using an external mic or the camera or the computer mic?
The camera mic.
Okay, so you don't have anything else plugged in. You don't have that other unit that we used to use.
Nope. It's the same setup I've had for the last 3 months. But let me mute myself and see if you guys talk, and then
we're gonna. If Bob can just mute himself for another 52 minutes, we'll have one hell of a show, folks. So
we'll have lots of fun.
Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro, and welcome to RVing in New England with John DePietro. Formerly with Bob Zagami, but he has been fired because of technical inefficiencies. So, Randy, it's always nice to have you this time of year. It's so important that we have you for 2 reasons. Number one, because of the time of the year. But number 2, as you know, because you hit all the different dealerships, all the number of newbies that are heading into their first winter. And my guess is that there are going to be some issues that they forget to do. So before you give us a rundown of some of the tips on winterizing your RV, and I don't mean just winterizing by taking the water out and putting the pink liquid in. What are some of the things that people, if they're a do-it-yourselfer, can easily miss and then have a problem to deal with in March and April?
Well, first of all, John, great questions. And welcome to the John Show. People really got. I would love to say that your RV dealer is going to tell you everything that you need to know about everything on your RV, but realistically, that is probably not the case. Even in our organization, there's sometimes I'm like, how can you not know this? Did you go through our process? This year was a little weird. A lot of units were delivered where you couldn't have interaction with the customer because we couldn't go in the campers. It depends what state you were in and what governor mandates were up front. So it was a little different for each one of our locations. So I really welcome the new RV user, even the experienced RV user, to educate themselves on the practices, proper maintenance practices. Reach out. The manufacturers have great websites. YouTube may be a good resource, and we're very successful on YouTube, but don't believe everything that you hear on YouTube unless it's a real dealer with a shirt on that shows you
Right.
that
Exactly.
this is what he does, not Joe's backyard. Not diminishing those guys, because there's lots of guys that know lots of things out there, but be careful of what you try.
Well,
sense goes a long way.
Along those lines on the YouTube thing, the good thing is that there's a lot of information available on YouTube. The bad thing, there's a lot of information available on YouTube and there's no censors. Well, now there are, but there didn't used to be. And anybody can put up anything. And, many times if you go to an RV related Facebook group and ask a question, you'll get left and right answers. I mean,
all over the place. How I direct our customers that are using blog posts and trying to gather information just because they're inquisitive, and I get it, I'm the same way, is look for consistencies, look for repetition. If you see a one-off that tells you you're going to have a problem, don't take it to heart. Look for 3 or 4 or 5 people saying the same thing, and then there's some validity to it. But I really welcome the RV user to listen to guys like you. Check out the blog post that you guys put out. A lot of dealers, go to your local dealer. Hopefully they have got some information out there if they have a good marketing department that tells you what you need to take care of these items, or call a dealership, and educate yourself that way. So
right.
we work really hard at it, but again, hitting everybody is a tall order.
And Randy, don't you think it's important, even though you may have bought your pre-owned unit from a private sale, don't you think it's important to develop a relationship with your local New England, member of NERVTA with some degree of competency and history? And, so many of the dealers are family-run businesses in New England that have been around for 30, 40, and 50, 60 years. So even if you didn't buy it there, it's probably good at some time to go in and buy products from the store or develop a relationship with them for service issues, which, you know what, folks, I haven't seen an RV yet that hasn't had some type of issue. Some are routine and some are traumatic, but you really need that relationship in order to get placed in that waiting line.
So absolutely, John. And we talk about it in the seminars that Bob and I do throughout the winter months. I talk about state inspections, like in my home state, Vermont. There's a state inspection for everything that goes down the road, and so we have to do safety checks on an RV and a car, anything that goes on the road once a year. And when it passes, we put a sticker on it, and that way it tells the local police and what have you, DOT, that this has had passed the state's test and it is safe for the road. So I welcome everybody to do that. And again, we have I can share a link to some clip notes from a seminar that we do that just check the tires, check the brakes, check the wheel bearings. We want to check the suspension. We want to make sure the lights are working appropriately. I think last year, Bob, we were talking on this very show about a lot of the same things. And Major's RV talked about the not so much just the winterizing, displacing the water with non-toxic antifreeze, is the whole process of maintaining your coach appropriately and doing it in the fall and in the spring, the 2 times a year that you're not usually using it, getting it prepared for either putting it to bed for the winter or getting it to take out of bed, and put it into use for the springtime and throughout the summer months. So they're building a relationship with your local dealer is a super important thing, because they can do things and they've got tools and equipment and know-how that a normal homeowner will not have. And putting an RV up in the air to check things is not the most safe thing in the world if you're not properly tooled. So very important.
And also, from the parts store, there are people that think, I can save and go to Walmart, but you know what? There's nobody at Walmart to tell you what part you need. There's nobody to bring it back to and say, this didn't work, what do I do? And, it's important. It's vitally important that first timers this year realize that if they're going to try to winterize by themselves, they're not using Prestone antifreeze, and that they use the pink stuff.
So 100%, Prestone antifreeze will kill you dead. It will shut down your kidneys and it will kill you dead. I have taken coaches out of use that have been winterized with Prestone antifreeze, and I've had to make the phone call going, your plumbing system has been tainted, and I do not recommend it for human consumption ever again. I'm going to red flag this unit and just make you aware of it. So use the -50. I am a huge advocate of glycol brand, not the alcohol type. Glycol is actually a food preservative and a lubricant. That's what Pete's RV winterizes all their campers with. The alcohol mixes or the straight alcohol, it's flammable. Let's put something flammable in our plumbing system, and it can actually taint the PEX plumbing lines. It will actually permeate the plastic lines and leave a foul odor and a foul taste. So make sure you're using the right stuff as well. And you mentioned going to Walmart. Walmart is popular and successful because they sell things at low prices. How Walmart gets things at low prices is they tell people to make them cheaply. When I am working and maintaining my RV, the last thing I'm thinking about is buying the cheapest thing on the shelf to winterize my camper or check my wheelbarrow or whatever it may be. So when you go to the local dealer, I can't speak for everybody, but the dealerships that I've been to and that I'm associated with, we usually have a good, better, best, and we'll educate you on all three. And if it's something that we feel strongly about, we're not even going to give you that option. We're going to sell you the best and tell you why we do it.
Yep.
Let me get caught up on some.
You're good.
Let me know if you guys are still getting static. I don't hear it here.
No, you're good now.
Elisa Angeloni, Alito says, I would have been screwed this season without Randy's help. That's a good one. Northeast Region Camping Charity is here tonight. I assume that might be
You're back.
Jason or Joe.
Yeah, because Walter's already in.
Dante's here from Wyndham, Maine. Thanks for coming back again, Dante. Audrey Foley says, Randy's 100% right. There are so many differing opinions on RV issues on the forum. I wish there was some way we could pre-screen the Facebook and some of that YouTube stuff that's out there. It's just horrible. I'm hearing myself. So I'm gonna all right.
Doing it wrong.
You asked the question, John.
Yep. So, Randy, it's the time of year right now. Actually, I just got winterized yesterday at a local NERVTA affiliate. But you really can't take many more chances if you live in New England. Again, for those of you like the Haws that are down in Texas, you can just listen along with this because they were already rude enough to say we don't need to winterize here in East Texas. Well, but anyway, for those of the people that live in the northern climate, you're really taking a chance if you go much further than this week, wouldn't you say?
You definitely are, John. We're going to get a little cold snap on Friday here. So I just had a big push down here in Plainville to get the yard finished up. Winterizing, we've winterized. I believe we've gotten all the customers' units done and taken care of our product as well. We'll usually focus on the customer stuff first. We're actually having a winterization. We call it a mass winterization on Saturday where we'll have a bunch of people come in and it's production line, boom, 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 boom. Then we put them in, put them out. But past that down here in southern part of New England, we're there. If you are still using your coach actively, keep the heat on, try to keep your holding tanks empty. After this weekend, it's going to climb back up a little bit. We need a couple days of below freezing weather before we really have to be worried about everything. But if you don't have a plan as of yet, I think it's pretty important down in southern New England to start making one. Vermont, it snowed last night, from what I understand. So we're there.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
You say you're doing your drive-through winterizing this weekend?
We are by appointment, but it is in volume, yes. And I believe we're almost full. But if anybody's looking or doesn't have a plan yet, feel free to give us a call down in Plainville. Yeah,
I was gonna say, give me some information. I'll post it if you want me to.
I think I may have one or two more spots left. It's been pretty successful and filling up pretty quickly. But again, if you're in a jam, we want to get you taken care of. Give us a call. We'll figure it out somehow, some way.
Okay.
And I got to say hi to Elisa. Elisa is my new favorite Airstream customer. She cracks me up on a daily basis. And I've never seen anybody want to learn quicker and want to learn more about camping than this young lady. And she's awesome at it. So it's been a lot of fun watching her progress.
Is she a Green Mountainer?
She's from Long Island, dude.
But she came to Burlington to get it.
She got her RV from us, yes.
Okay, good. So people need to know that outside of the winterizing, what are some other tips about getting food out, getting soda out, getting beer out, anything that either can be eaten or drunk, right?
So you don't want anything in your camper that is going to potentially freeze and burst, i.e. our liquids, especially. I've seen soda, beer. I've seen wine. You want to talk about something hard to clean up off a floor. It's wine after it's sat around all winter and dried out. It also stains. Food, for sure. Rodents. We had a pretty healthy discussion last year about rodents and rodent protection. That's a big deal. there's lots and lots of things that need to be done other than just displace the water. You got to protect your RV, the outside of it first. Make sure you check the roof seals. Make sure you check the sidewall seals. Everywhere there's caulking on your RV is a potential leak if not attended appropriately. And if you read your warranty agreements with the manufacturers, they expect you to check that stuff, visual inspection twice a year. And if you don't, they're not going to cover warranty on something because there is maintenance that goes along with an RV. So that's super important, as well as the things to take care of the cold weather.
You know, Randy, you bring up an excellent point. And earlier this fall, we did a segment with Jim Conboy of New England RV Roof. And, you know, it's hard for people to, especially if they're of a certain age, to get up on the roof. And age or weight, because if you're over, I think I'd say 215 pounds, and as far as I know, there aren't many RVers that I know that qualify for that ladder.
Right.
What do you do? I mean, where do you bring it? Because, you know, the leaks from the roof cracks, Jim Conboy, if you're here, you know, write a note on this and we'll say it. But those tiny little microscopic roof leaks can do tons of damage before they're even noticed coming through the ceiling.
Well, so
right?
it's so important going into the winter months with a rubber roof camp type style camper, even a fiberglass type camper, because what happens is it gets warm and cold. I mean, I've been skiing in a t-shirt, you know, in Vermont in December because it warmed up. When it warms up, water will get into a crack, and then when it freezes again, it expands and opens the crack up even further. So it's really important to check those roof seals. That roof takes the brunt of the weather, and it is on something that rolls down the road that moves around. So if there's something that's going to need to be checked or open up, this is the place that will do it first. So it's super, super important. If you're a heavier person, scared of heights, or you just don't want to get up there because you don't want to do it, again, that relationship we discussed earlier with your local dealer on some of those maintenance items, that's just something that you really want to do. My personal recommendation is, you know, put it to bed for the winter. We want to winterize it. Have it done by a professional because it'll be guaranteed. Get the roofs checked. Make sure your roof seals are good. Do a quick visual inspection on the exterior compartment, you know, around the windows, compartments, doors, anything like that. That's a protrusion on the exterior. And then state inspection. Get that stuff ready so you don't have to deal with it in the spring. And then there's a couple maintenance things that you do in the spring, and you're off and running using it. So great time of year to just get some needed things done on the RV. Build a relationship with your local dealer. Put her to bed for the winter and pray for spring.
Let's go to the engine part for motorhomes.
Yeah.
There are people that say if you're ready for an oil change, one school of thought says do it now before the winter. The other school of thought says, why should you have new engine oil breaking down in your motor? What's the conventional wisdom on that, if there is any?
So, and again, this is my opinion. I'm sure there's lots of different opinions out there. Personally, if your oil needs to be changed, get it changed. If you talk to a professional, they'll tell you if you change oil per mileage or once a year, whichever comes first. If you change it in the fall, you're good till the following fall. Hopefully you use it enough to warrant another oil change next fall. I also want you to change the generator oil because if you ask me, I'm going to tell you to go exercise that thing once a month. And John, if you're not running your coach once a month, I recommend that you do. Start the coach up, bring it to temperature. It's going to charge the batteries. It's going to distribute the oil through the engine so it keeps our seals wet. And it's also going to just keep everything moving appropriately. All those moving parts that sit around all winter long, we want those to move. We don't want them to seize up. I'm also going to tell you to start the generator. Let's run the generator. Let's move that fuel around. Let's move that oil around. Let's get the brushes cleaned on the armature. Let's make some power. Do it once a month. Keep those batteries up. These are important things to do. So I would change the oil in the fall because I want you to run that stuff through the winter months. And get into an RV dealer in the spring to have these items done is going to be a pretty tall order because that's when they're delivering everything as well. So I would recommend the fall personally.
Okay. You know, Bob, try yourself again, Bob. See if your voice is better. Nope, he's muted. He's muted, but he doesn't know he's muted.
Bob,
he can hear us.
There we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Give it another try.
Yeah. So I can still hear him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me pull my big monitor and see if that.
Yeah. Well, I feel sad about taking over the show, but the reality of it is, for the past 3 years, I've really been carrying the show, and all the studies show that. It's usually me with the technical issues, but
right?
Today it's Bob. But you know what? Let me go over here and look at some. You know what, Randy? We have the best guests in America, and sometimes their comments are very valuable. So the Hawes said we don't winterize here in Texas. Audrey says Randy's 100% right. So many different opinions on RV issues and forums, and I know some of that has been gone over. Jerry said, for people that say I can get it cheaper on Amazon, and Jerry also said, call Elon Musk if you have a problem. That must be the Tesla people. I don't know what he's referring to there. Hawes said, rude, crude, and socially unacceptable, but still RVing. Okay, he knows himself. Elisa wrote, hello again. Nothing that mice can use to nest in. And then, Randy, there are a couple, I don't know where the term old wives, I don't know how that phrase even got developed, but a lot of people on the internet still say, just put a bar of Irish spring soap or dryer vent tissues, and you'll get mice will not come near it. What's your experience with that? Because Gary says no, Audrey says no.
So, my personal feeling on this is that stuff smells great, but if the mice are getting into that part of your coach, they are already in your coach. They're in where the appliances get hooked up. They're in with the wiring. They've made it to the underbelly and up into the living portion of the coach. And there's a lot of important stuff that goes along underneath the floor. So I do not like letting mice get that far. Dryer sheets lose their smell in about a week. And the the Irish Spring is something that was new to me last year. I think it's a Southern New England thing, but we had guests on here telling me they've seen mice eat it. So
yeah, I think Gary said they have all that gnaw marks in it.
It'll smell good in the spring in there. I have a product that we spray on the frame rails that the mice don't like. It's very obtrusive to rodents, and that's been very successful for us. And so that's my recommendation. Let's not even let the mice get close to the RV. Let's keep them out.
Keep them outside, yeah, because I forget the name of that. I think it comes in a big black can with some red letters on it.
Mouse free.
Mouse free. Okay, so you spray it, but it's not something that you would use a little fantastic bottle on, right? It's got to be.
So it's liquefied petroleum jelly. It's a petroleum jelly, like a Vaseline, that has a little bit more of a wet consistency. So we can atomize it through a gun. So we take a spray gun that we actually sell, the applicator. You need a compressor to apply this stuff. But you would put it in a spray gun. It looks like a primer gun if anybody's ever painted a car before. And it just, with air and the liquefied product, it atomizes it, and I can spray a nice even coat along the frame rail, anywhere where a mouse could get up in the coach. What mice typically do is they'll crawl up the tires, and once they're on a tire, they can hop on the I-beam frame, and it's free sailing from there. They've got access to your camper. So we treat those areas.
They can get into areas that you would never think that they could.
Those guys, if they want to get in, there's not a whole lot you're going to do to stop them. So the other part of the mouse free that is the effective part, first of all, they don't like the petroleum jelly on their feet. That's obtrusive to them. It's got spearmint and peppermint oil in it. The scent from oil dissipates over a long period of time rather than some fragrance out there that would go away quickly, kind of like the bounce dryer sheets that we discussed earlier. So the oils hang around for a long time. It's a application that needs to be done once a year. I recommend in the fall before you put your camper away, but I have seen it work. Anything that I have sprayed with this product has not had infiltration after. I have not heard about it. So. Okay,
and basically, what does say you got a 35-foot unit, whether it's a travel trailer or a motorhome, you charge by the foot with that?
So I think I got $3.99 up to 30 feet, and then after that, it would be a judgment call depending on the coach and what we had underneath it.
Okay. And regardless of the price on this stuff, people try to skimp on winterizing, and the fact is, if you're going to spend $35, $40, $50, $100, $125,000 on your unit, doesn't it make sense to invest? I mean, if you go away for the winter in your stick house and turn the heat off because you want to save on fuel? No, you don't. I mean,
or winterize it.
yeah, sure, exactly. You don't do that.
A water heater will cost you $800, and that's probably not installed. So that's a lot of winterizations right there.
Yeah. Steve asked a question. You must have got on a little late here. Would the preferred time of year to change the oil, spring or fall? And I think you said be consistent. If you change it every spring, do it then. If you change it every fall, do it then.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
It would. I like to do it in the fall as I recommended. I'll get my state inspection done in the fall. I'll get my oil changed. I'm going to get everything done in the fall that I can because, again, the RV world in the spring is a very busy place with deliveries. So service work is a little bit harder to obtain in the springtime than in the fall. So fall would be my choice.
Yeah. Now, Audrey asked a question about mouse-free. Is it good through the winter in the outdoors? And yes. Doug Turner says, we've used Fresh Cab for a few years and no mice in our rig. Works great for us and smells great too.
The Fresh Cab is a product that I sell, and it does smell great. But again, it's something that gets placed inside the living portion of the camper, where my thought process is the mouse free doesn't let the mice get to that point.
Okay, so the mouse free is like the door, and the other is something. What do you do?
Question.
What do you do with dead mice? I mean, you can smell them, but is there a place? Yeah, but is there a place to find them? If you can smell they're there, where should you look?
So one of the things that I did when with my camper, back when I had a camper and I was winterizing it and using it actively, anymore, it's crazy, right? I left the toilet seat up and I left antifreeze in the toilet bowl. And it sounds horrible, but I would usually, if there was a mouse in there, it would end up in there and it couldn't get out and it drowned or froze to death, and I would flush it. They can get anywhere. They're looking for a good place to have their babies. And it's warm and protected and free from, they're looking to be out of line of their predators. So they're going to go in a small, dark area where they can build their nest and breed. So is there a place in an RV? Look everywhere. pull the drawers out, fire the furnace. If something sounds weird, shut it off. I mean, it could be anywhere. I've seen them all over.
Randy.
Yes.
What about the people that still camp? Because we have campgrounds up here that are open year round. How many do you see, and are there special instructions that you have for them?
For campers that camp year round?
Yeah.
Buy an electric heater. Have a supplementary heat source. And the reason it's not something to laugh about, because I have conversations with people every winter with this. The furnace that you have in your RV is made for temporary use. It is not made to run continuously throughout the winter. Second, your walls in your RV are less than 2 inches thick. Where I'm from, walls are 6 inches thick. And we have basements. So the RV is not a very hugely insulated thing, and it's got a adequate furnace for 9 months of the year outside of the Northeast. So if you are in a situation where you need to be in your RV for the winter months, and I get it, it happens, have a supplementary heat source or two. Make sure you got a good power source. You can cover the windows with some shrink wrap that can be purchased at your local box store, the Home Depots, the Lowe's. Put it on with a hairdryer. Insulate anything that you can. Skirt the unit. Put hay bales or insulation around the base of the unit. Keep the wind out from underneath it, because the wind will pull so much heat out of the bottom of a camper that it will really affect what the inside temperature is.
That's not what I was thinking about, though, because that is an area where the industry doesn't recommend it. But we're selling a lot of Class B's, products like the Rebels, and they're basically pitching them as 4 seasons to the younger generation to go skiing every weekend or to go hunting. I'm thinking about the person that is highly active in the outdoors and wants to go out every weekend. So what do they do in the week, and then how do they handle the weekend?
I've been that guy, and what I did when I was doing it, I used to be, before my knees were bad and I was overweight, I used to go skiing a lot. I would take an RV up to the ski resort and we would run the generator. I'd winterize the plumbing system, so I didn't have my water like I normally would if I was camping in the summer, but I had all the other amenities. And when I needed to use the restroom, I would flush with antifreeze. So I would buy a couple gallons of antifreeze from my store. And when I use the facilities, instead of flushing with water, I flushed with antifreeze. So the antifreeze was in the black water holding tank, and I could still dump. If I had a tank heater on it, I would turn the tank heater on. But that's how I utilized it. I usually wasn't long term. A day or two without a shower, not the worst thing in the world. You do the Navy stuff. But that's how I utilized having the camper during the winter months, like at a ski area or things like that. The people that are doing, coming out of the south and passing through, as long as they're actively in the coach and they keep the heat on, and again, that secondary heat source is strongly recommended if you're going to have water in your coach, and you're there all the time, probably not a big deal. Know how to winterize your camper on a drop of a dime, or on a second's notice. If you come into a place where you need to winterize it because you're not going to be around or something happened that changed your plans, be able to winterize it immediately, have the resources and the material to be able to do so. Campers cool down very quickly because of the things that I mentioned earlier, the 2-inch walls and the slide outs and things like that. There's not like our house that will maintain temperature for probably 24 hours. This thing, a couple hours, and it's going to be outside temperature inside. So make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to utilize that.
Randy, you brought up the issue about beer, wine, and soda, and about especially red wine. I can raise my hand on that.
You've done it.
The first year we had our RV, I said, oh, you know what? We're indoors here. I don't really need to worry about that. And I came back in January, and the cans were dented out and empty, and the beer, the wine and the soda. The wine was broken. That's glass. That was just shattered.
Yep.
And again, depending upon where you live, if you're living in Charlotte, if you're a Polk, you don't need this. But if you're a Zagami or Jerry or Walter or any of these guys, we had some great comments here from some of our listeners here, and let me get back to them. And Doug says we use fresh mice. Okay.
I like
Jerry.
I like Doug Turner.
Me too.
This guy has an awesome beard. I got to wait. Not sure who he is. Now, Doug's in Elkhart, Randy, so how can there be somebody in Elkhart that doesn't know who you are?
I'm not 100% sure on that one yet.
Doug Turner. Do we know Doug Turner, Bob? Now we've lost him entirely. You can hear me, right, Randy?
I can, yes.
Right? And
I can hear you. I just shut off my mic.
Oh, okay. But do we know Doug Turner, Bob? Is he a Pentavision guy or anything?
No.
Doug, tell us what you do. Do you work in the industry? Let us know about that. But I'll read what he says. He blows the water out and uses a half gallon of antifreeze to winterize our 40-foot motorhome. We camp a lot in the winter, so we winterize and de-winterize about 20 times last winter. We're in Indiana. And, if you know how to do it and you're going to use it, then you got to unwinterize if you want to have the full benefit of all that stuff. Now, Audrey brings up a very interesting thing here, and we have done this, and it works great. So you go to you got a bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket, and you run a string across it from one handle to the other. You put a soda can in the middle, and you slather peanut butter all over it. And you have a little ramp that leads up to it. And what they try to do is the mice try to jump onto the can to get the peanut butter, and they fall into the bucket of water. And
hence the name, the bucket of death.
No, there.
You froze up, John. So Doug is in.
We know Audrey likes animals because he takes pictures of birds and has a couple dogs. So that's that. Walter says, yeah, the manufacturer said it was a 4-season unit. LOL. 4 seasons. Florida.
What about, Walter brings up his other comment there is Walter Lippert has the new flow system also, but it's expensive for what it is. Explain the flow system, Randy.
I'll be honest with you, I have not had to deal with a flow system yet, Bob, so I can't give you any input on that.
They just
came out with it. I'm dealing with that currently.
Yeah, they just came out with it. Maybe Walter can give us a quick tutorial on it there.
And Walter, when it's freezing, you don't put that porta potty outside. I'm sure you use it inside and then take it outside when it's going to be freezing.
That's a great idea, because then you don't have to deal with trying to get your RV somewhere to dump the tanks during the winter months. That thing is pretty pull the cartridge and you can take care of it in a rest stop or something like that. So
Yeah.
not a bad idea if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah. Doug. Oh, I didn't see that awesome beard thing. Okay. Doug Turner, I'm not in the RV industry. I'm retired and love to go camping. But you got to have something to do with, if you're in Elkhart, you're either on your way to Notre Dame or you work in the RV industry, because there ain't nothing else there except.
No, he's in Richmond, which is halfway between. I used to go through there between Dayton and Columbus, or it sounds further south.
Yeah, those are in Bob. That's Ohio. We're talking Indiana.
Yeah, Richmond, Indiana. There was a big dealership there, and they sold several years ago. I forget. I'm not sure. I think they sold to Camping World. May have. Do your commercial, John.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the live show tonight. But we also want to remind you that we would like you to share the, down at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little button that says share. Or just hit that share button and send it along to somebody you know that either is brand new or into RVing or is considering RVing. And I'm sure that they will thank you for the valuable information that we provide in this show. Now, for those of you that are not watching on Facebook and are watching it on YouTube, give us a like. We like to get liked because we have egos. And if we get thumbs down anywhere, we kind of take it to heart. And we're depressed for a week or so. And for those of you, we want to give a special welcome, because we've been ignoring you for 3 years. The folks that watch this, not watch it, but listen to the show when you're driving across the country or going to the grocery store or whatever, on Spotify or any of the other podcast providers out there. So, folks, if you can't watch the whole show, you can catch the exact same information on the podcast. The only difference is you don't get to see me. And many of you out there are saying right now that are watching it, that's a definite benefit, that you can get this information without having to look and stare at the Petro for 1 hour. So share, and we grow thanks to you, and we hope that we provide you with the best guests possible.
There you go. All right, good one. Randy, how about the traditional one, covers versus no covers, inside versus outside storage?
So first of all, don't cover your Airstream. That will mar the finish, and Airstreams can take being covered. But for everything else, when customers ask me this question, I refer them to like a garage situation. I'm like, well, if you put a car next to a garage all winter and put one in the garage all winter, which one would you want to just hop on and take out in the spring without doing anything to it? Obviously, the car in the garage, because it's going to be a lot cleaner and look a lot better. It's been out of the elements for the last few months. So if you can swing a cover, they're not cheap. They're $400 or $500 if you get a halfway decent one. Absolutely, I recommend it. Put it on, keep it from billowing, because that will destroy the cover in a shorter amount of time. But the thing with covers, what they do is, first of all, a real RV cover has breathable sidewalls, so it'll allow moisture to come in and go out.
Randy,
we don't want to trap moisture. Yes, sir.
Randy, I have to stop you there. Okay, how do you deal with the person that says, "I'm not going to pay $400 or $500. I'm going to Ocean State Job Lot or to the Dollar Tree, and I'm buying one of those giant, beautiful royal blue tarps. Why should I spend $500 when I can buy a tarp for $7.99 and just sew about 10 of them together?"
So I say two things to them. I say, first of all, you're going to trap every bit of moisture that is in that coach currently in that coach until springtime, because you're taking a piece of plastic. You're taking your camper and putting it in a plastic bag, pretty much. And the other thing I'm going to alert them to is, have you ever seen an aluminum smiley? We actually have a name for it, because when you have the tarps, they've got those little aluminum eyelets, and when they move, they make a smiley. So you'll have gray smileys all over the side of your camper that are really hard to get rid of. So I am not the biggest advocate of a blue tarp. If you've got a leak and you're trying to stop it temporarily, blue tarps work great. If you want to cover your wood pile, if you live up by me, blue tarps work great. If you want to cover your camper, get an RV cover that is designed to cover an RV appropriately. That's what I recommend.
Or if you got a double wide in Alabama, they're good for that when the hurricane blows.
Exactly. The big thing about an RV cover is in the summer months, we're actively using our RV. We're in and out of our RV, hopefully once a week or so, depending on your lifestyle. If there's a leak or something's going awry, we usually identify it very quickly because we're using the RV. During the summer or the winter months, we're not in our RV. We've parked it in the backyard. We're doing Christmas shopping. The kids are in school, New Year's, blah, 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 whatever we got going on in the winter, skiing, all the winter sports, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever. We're not in our camper. If something goes bad or something happens, we don't identify it until spring. I've been campers in spring and seen mushrooms, because it wasn't that way when we put it away in the fall. So if we can cover it, we've kind of put it in a time capsule. That way, if there is an issue, it will rear its head when we're actively using the camper, not when we're not.
Refrigerator door open or closed or pegged open or how?
Leave it open until the moisture has dried out and then shut it. The only reason I recommend leaving a refrigerator door open is because when we turn off a refrigerator after using it for the weekend or however long our camping trip was, when it goes from cold to warm, moisture is going to come out of the refrigerator. We want that moisture to dissipate because it will mold and mildew. Once it's dry in there, go ahead, close the door. If a mouse gets in, the last place I want them is in my refrigerator, in my bed. So if it's dry in there, close the refrigerator door. No need to keep it open. If you put it away and it's still damp in there, leave the door open.
Randy, would that be applicable to a park model? Because I leave my refrigerator doors open all winter.
Anything, yeah. I mean, are you going to hurt anything by leaving them open? No, but I would shut it. What'll happen to me, Bob, in my world, is we'll leave the doors open, then I'll hook up to it with a tractor, I'll pull it across the yard, and the doors will be swinging around, banging into things, the next thing I know, I'm buying something. Right? So shut them when you're done. That way you don't have to remember, or if somebody hooks up to you or moves it without your knowing, or you get sick or whatever, it's just kind of, I try to do everything to keep it as simple as possible because of the how we do business. But no one's hooking up to that very quickly. If I had to guess, the A-frame has been removed off it.
All right, Audrey,
a ton of blocks.
Audrey
brings up a good
but
point.
No need to leave the doors open if it's dry in there.
All right, Audrey says washer and dryer doors open or not.
I would close those. I have retrieved mice out of washers, and it's not a fun thing.
Okay.
Because they don't come out, so it's usually a skeleton, hair, and not a good smell.
All right, Chris Ando just joined. Says sorry he's late. He says hello, Randy. Good to see you.
Hey, Chris, how we doing, my friend?
He's a good guy. He's one of our regulars. He's working hard this year, though. He winds up being late this year because he's working so hard.
Right? I had to cut out early. I left my boss at the dealership when I came up here.
And he said, "You're going to see Zagami and DePietro, and you're leaving me at the dealership."
Yep. Like, have fun.
Yeah.
I thought that went over well.
Todd's pretty good guy. He lets me. He gives me pretty free reign. So,
Bob, you're teasing the dogs. I mean, you're teasing the audience with the dogs. Show the dogs off.
I can see a dog on your lap.
Well, this is Wally, but he's awake. Ari's asleep. The other one's asleep down there.
He's asleep.
They usually sleep during the show. What about how early should they be making appointments for the spring, or is it already past the time that they should have had them?
So, after the first of the year, it's probably okay. Most dealers are, I say most dealers, us. I don't have my new calendars out yet for scheduling. Some of our software doesn't recognize the new year 100% yet. So for me, it's better. I can book you now, but it's better if it's after the first of the year. Get in when do it when it's convenient to you. Dealers will tell you if they need you to call back. But after the first of the year is probably when you need to start thinking about it, just to kind of get on a schedule.
Hey, Bob, do you see Michael Proctor writes, new guy here in Beatrice, Nebraska. DOT sting location. What do you mean by that? Is that where they stop tractor trailers all the time, or they stop RVs for overweight? Michael Proctor, tell us what you mean by DOT sting location. It's probably Interstate 70 or 80 that runs through Nebraska.
It could also be a work camper working for the DOT. Jerry Plant says some places have a lower labor rate for winter work. I don't know. You see that much, Randy?
So it is something that RV dealers definitely talk about, but it all depends on what they've got in front of them. If you've got an RV service department that is not booked up coming into the slower time of the year, they may offer you a discount on the labor rate or parts or the complete job to push you off the roof jobs, metal jobs, big flooring jobs, things like that, where the unit needs to be and take up base space for longer than a part of a day. That's the kind of stuff that we love to do in the winter. And again, depending on how much work an RV dealer is sitting on, he may throw something out there if he's trying to line himself up with some things that he may offer a discount. Not all of my stores are doing it. I think my Pennsylvania store may do some of that this winter, but again, I couldn't tell you until we get a little bit further along in the season.
Okay, Michael, we don't understand the DOT lingo. He says yes, so I assume he was referring to what you said, John, about a sting.
Well, I think he was saying yes because he says I-80 runs through there, and I knew it would either be 70 or 80 because 90 is up north. But you know, and it's probably, Michael, I'm guessing, in the middle of nowhere, so that you have nowhere to go around it. You know, because a lot of times with truckers, you know, they'll say, look at the scales are open on a certain location, but if there's a parallel highway you can take, you know, not that I'm saying our trucker friends ever run overweight, but you know, they may or have bald tires, and when you go through those DOT stops, it can cost you a lot of money if you're not following the rules, which I have no problem with.
No.
You know.
As we get close to the end, Randy, what else are we missing, or you folks, our fans? Frank H says thank you for that no cover on his new Airstream, so he appreciates that. He obviously hasn't put one on yet. What else are we forgetting, Randy?
I think just, you know, get out, remove your battery for the newbies out there. Take a picture of the way your battery's hooked up, print the picture, put it in the camper. That way you can hook your battery up in the spring, because if your memory's like mine, you won't remember how it was hooked up. And if your camera's like mine on your phone, you'll have 17,000 pictures and you'll never be able to find it in the spring. So print it, put it in there. Bring your battery inside, fully charge it. If you don't have a bench charger, plug your camper in for a couple days. Store the battery in a warm area. Basements work great. Elevate it off the floor. Basement floors are 54 degrees in the Northeast. That will pull the battery voltage down quicker than if it's up on something. Educate yourself on proper maintenance. Go in your camper once a month or so and just inspect everything. Look for problems. Because a lot of damage can occur in a short amount of time if it goes unattended. So
Randy, you bring a point up on these batteries. We've got all these new RVers out there, and they probably don't have a clue as to whether they got lithium or AGM or wet cell. Talk a little bit about how do they find out what type they have so that they're at least aware of the parameters.
So an AGM battery and a typical lead acid, and even some of the newer technology out there, the lithium ions, it says it right on the battery. It's fairly easy to identify. Lead acid is going to have caps that you can pop off where you can actually see the sulfuric acid. An AGM battery is a sealed battery. It's a glass mat battery, so it's got a little bit more fluid in it. It has about 25% more storage capabilities. We can turn that one upside down. There's no caps on it. It can go anywhere. Lithium ion are going to be super light because they're more electronic than stored power. Ask your dealer if you're not sure. We've got some videos. I've made some videos on proper battery maintenance, and I know there's some other dealers out there in the marketplace that have done so as well. So the biggest thing is just make sure your battery's fully charged. Bring it in the house. A lithium ion battery is going to charge at 14.5 volts rather than 13.6. So if you got a lithium ion battery, you got to know how to charge it appropriately. Anything else is going to charge at 13.6. And just do what the battery manufacturer recommends or what an RV dealer tells you to do. Check out the videos that an RV dealer has made that knows what they're talking about, and that's how you take care of your battery.
Well, I suspect all of us have killed at least one battery in our RV life. I know I have. But if somebody kills the lead acid, they got a new trailer, first you got to kill it. Should they replace it with an AGM or should they replace it with another lead acid?
It all depends on how you're using your camper, Bob. If you are out in, like, Elisa, for example, she does a lot of dry camping and relies on solar and generator. So she's looking for the most stored power possible because of the type of camping she does. Myself personally, if I ran a campsite, I'm going to plug my camper in. I'm going to utilize my air conditioner, my microwave, and I'm probably going to watch some TV at some point because that's what I enjoy. So a big battery means nothing to me because all I need enough is to put the landing gear down on my camper and open the slides, and I'm plugging it in. So if you're actively doing a lot of dry camping or camping off the grid, AGM or a lithium is going to be an important thing for you. If you're a campground guy like me, you don't need anything special. All you need is safety going down the road to activate your brakes if an emergency situation comes up, and enough to be able to run the landing gear or the tongue jack when you're not hooked to shore power. So depends how you use it.
You know a guy named Tom Kuhn? He just said hello, Randy.
I do know a guy named Tom Kuhn. He bought a Jayco off our Connecticut store a long time ago, and he's a good guy and knows more about weather than anybody I know.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is he a weatherman?
I think it's a hobby of his, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, and anytime there's something bad coming, this guy's telling me about it. I know that.
Yeah.
Like before my phone goes in alert.
Yeah. And we have a very interesting thing here, and you know what? It's probably the topic of another entire session, but Michael Proctor, the mystery man here from Nebraska, said that I-80 runs through Nebraska, through his area, and the DOT has been checking pickups, pulling campers as of late, and giving tickets for being overweight based upon the tire ratings on the car, on the pickup truck. Very, very, very interesting.
Never heard of that.
I have dualies too. If you run a dually, you're a lot more susceptible to pull over because they think you're calling commercially.
Interesting. Okay. That's interesting. And batteries have solar on roof. It's getting to keep them charged through the winter.
So if you do have, that's a great point that Frank brings up. If you do have a solar panel and you're storing it somewhere where it's going to get sun through the day and not get covered with snow, so it's not working, solar panel will maintain your battery, and that's a wonderful thing about a solar panel. Up here in the Northeast, though, it's a crapshoot in the winter months because if you get an ice storm or you get some snow up there, you get 4, 5, 6 inches of snow on your solar panel, it's not going to get the solar array it needs, so you're not going to be making the power. And once your battery goes below 10.5 volts, it's sulfating, and you've lost storage capabilities. If it goes too low, it'll actually freeze and split.
Got that, John? Got that?
You've done that one, Bob.
I think I flunked that test, Randy. Oh, all right. Any last minute questions? Randy, again, I want to thank you for pinch hitting here tonight. It's always a pleasure having you come on. And I know Phil sent me, because you were kind enough to come on, I said, I'm going to do something extra for you. So if they cannot read it, I think you probably can. You probably know what it entails, but it's good through October 31st, your end of season sales days, and you got a winterizing special.
We do. So all of our locations are offering this winterization special. Even if you've got other stuff that needs to be done, we want to get you in and get you taken care of, and maybe send you back and come back later for some of the other stuff because we're booking quite a ways out right now. But let's get it winterized. We're going to do a quick battery check for you just to let you know where your battery stands for the winter months, and we will give you a sheet of paper explaining the proper maintenance of your battery when you get it home, and kind of some of the stuff that we've been talking about this evening.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. And
that's all the dealers in New England, I'm sure, are doing some sort of something for winterization. So if you're not near one of our locations, get your local dealers. Like the Andrews brothers do a great job. You know, you get Longview and all these guys. Get it taken care of. That's the important part.
Yep. All right. Quick programming note as we end up here. Next week, seeing that Wednesday night is the day after the election, I didn't have the heart to ask a guest to come on when we're either going to be burning down the streets of the country or we will not know who is president. So the only thing you get next week is John and me, and I have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but I'm sure there'll be politics in there too.
We're going to be giving election results next week when some of the results are still coming back.
The day after. All right, Randy, thank you very much again for joining us, and thank you to Pete's RV for all you do for our customers and our friends and for NERVDA. John, any closing comments?
No, just good to see Randy again, and we always enjoy his knowledge. And you know what? As our guests say, look at, thanks for that great information. What better testimony can we get than when our guests say thanks, Randy?
Yep.
That's why I do it.
All right.
Nothing more, nothing less. When Bob calls and asks, I usually say yes. But
yeah, but when I call at 9 o'clock at night and you still say, I called Randy at 9 o'clock last night after we realized that our guest wasn't going to be able to make it. Any closing comments, Randy?
Just, thank you guys for what you do. The education to the public is something, and Bob as well, you guys know, is super important to me. And I think nobody does it better than you guys in the Northeast. So I'm just proud to be a part of it. And anytime I can help you guys out, I'm behind you 100%, as well as all of Pete's RV.
Have you?
Thank you very much. All right. See everybody next week.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Drive safe.